Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Jamie here, just getting started. Um, I'm pretty excited about taking on this new challenge. This is my first webinar. I'm pretty excited about it. Bear with me. I'm sure I'm going to stumble a few times, but that's what it's all about, stepping out of your comfort zone and getting started. So if I see we have about 14 people here, that's a good start for a nice, quiet, short notice. So I'm just wondering if we'll probably get started with questions. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and type them in the box. There's been a lot of questions in the group lately just regarding the payment and regarding the delay in activation. So just wanting to let people know that the activation is they're being worked on very, very actively right now. They're just trying to get everything organized. There are some slowdowns when it comes to how you've paid for your MyPC backup. If you paid through PayPal, then that could be one of the issues. It does take a little bit of extra time. It does take some. PayPal needs to talk to MyPC backup, and then of course they got to let us know that it's been paid. Does anybody out there have any questions? I didn't see any coming in. Some people typing in here, but. All right. Well, there we go. We got a question here. Just give me a sec while I just get enough space to see it here.
I know you can hear me, you goof.
Oh, okay. Where do you go to learn the lessons for marketing? That's the question I have here. It's once you've logged on to your My Partner Profit Challenge site, the lessons are on the dashboard. There's 20 lessons there. I don't know if I can go there directly without. I don't know if I have the page up and open here. I don't think so. But it's tell me about. Oh, you want to know about who I am? Oh, wow, there's an interesting topic. My name is Jamie Cinq-Mars, and I've been doing this for a couple of years. Hey?
For about 5 minutes.
I've been doing this webinar for about 5 minutes. That's for sure. So yes, this is definitely a whole new world for me, but again, a new challenge is great. But I've been working online with Paul for a number of years, and I've definitely taken it to a lot more seriously in the last 2 years. Just definitely trying to absorb everything like a sponge and become much more consistent in my action and much more active overall, because I know that I taking it like a hobby. I've heard Paul say it 1,000 times, and over the time I've learned and come to understand exactly what that means. I'll be the first to admit that I was guilty of taking my business as a hobby and treating it that way. Everything else was much more important. I think one of the great orators of our time for network marketing, and Jim Rome had talked about how people often talk about their the screen door in their houses needs to be fixed, or their garage is full of stuff and they need to organize it, and all these things that seem to get in the way of them actually going out and building their business and changing their lot in life, if that's what they're going for. So it's just been a lot of learning and a lot of nose to the grindstone, so to speak. But mostly just keeping myself accountable. When I walked away from my regular job to work at home and go full time online, uh, pretty scary, pretty crazy. But I think the hardest part was holding myself accountable and being a little bit uh, being my own boss. I'm used to having somebody else be my boss, so that was a big challenge. So I do understand the challenges that everybody's going through, but I also know that if you don't take a step in that direction and structure yourself and be uh, hold yourself accountable, that's a big important piece. So I don't know if there's any other.
Yeah, Jamie, take out the questions after they get asked. See the little
Oh,
garbage can beside them in the question box?
yeah, I see that there. Yeah.
So X them out because then you won't be able to see the other questions. It looks like there's some coming in.
Yeah. So the successes. That was the next question. If there's share some of my successes. I've successfully managed to walk away from my full-time job, so that I would consider a success. I'm not sure what kind of detail you're looking for there, but I've had in the job arena, I've had some decent success when it comes to my leadership and management skills, and I've taken on some pretty big challenges in my careers that I've had, and I've not met one that I haven't been able to master. So, although I will admit that working online has been a challenge of great proportion, just because there's so much to learn, and there's so many different aspects, and um, there's so much going on all at one time. And so it does require a great deal of patience and a great deal of dedication, which I'm not afraid of taking on. But bottom line is you got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, you can do it, and make sure that you're willing to go the extra mile to learn new skills. I mean, I've had this conversation with I don't know how many people online and on the phone regarding their need to show up online and be a success overnight. They sign up for our programs, and they expect to have $1 million check in their bank account about a week later. And unfortunately, I usually use the analogy of even just a simple McDonald's analogy. If I took any one of you that has never worked at McDonald's and dropped you into that McDonald's, you absolutely have no idea how to work there. You don't know how to work the till. You don't know how to work the fryers. You don't know how to make a Big Mac. You essentially have no skills whatsoever because you've never done it before. So what it's going to do, it's going to take you some time to learn those new skills. But it is really no different here. You have to learn new skills, and if you're not willing to learn new skills, then that means you're not willing to have success. So it's that simple. I don't care what you're doing. If you're not willing to learn new skills, you are not willing to have no excuses, right? You either can make excuses or make money. So, best marketing method. That's a great question. My favorite marketing method by far is PPC. 100% control of your budget. Even if you mess up and you write an ad that's you can mess up in two ways. You either you mess up with a really bad ad that has people clicking it nonstop. You have a max budget that you can't go over, or if you write ads that suck and nobody ever clicks them, then at least you don't pay for them. So you can make adjustments on the fly. You can adjust things. You can analyze the data. I like to analyze data. That's probably one of a strong suit of mine, as well as it's a strong suit now. It used to be a more of a hindrance because I spent more time analyzing than taking action. So the analysis or paralysis by analysis theory. I wrote a book, and I was the president of a club. I was very good at that one. But anyway, that's why I like PPC. It's the ultimate control, and I mean you can use keywords and you can get yourself close to it. So you can incorporate a lot of the tools and the knowledge you're learning to get really good ads and draw some. If you can hit an ad that just is gangbuster crazy, bringing in leads. So that's a good one. That's my favorite. Um, is MyPiP the same as Global Income Alliance? It's not. My Partner in Profit and the Global Income Alliance are not the same system. Some of the training are similar, but they're not the same. No. They have two different goals, I suppose. This is a My Partner in Profit webinar for the challenge. What do we got here? How many? How many keyword phrases would you say you have in your PPC ads? 5 to 10 or more? That depends. It depends on the if I've taken a keyword that I find has had a really strong click-through ratio, and I pull it out of the main ad that it's from, or the main ad group, and I start a separate ad group for it, then I tend to only have the 5 to 10 because I'm trying to get a little more targeted. But overall, it's usually more than 5 to 10. I often use the method that you find in the lessons where when you're using the keyword tool, and you select a large number of keywords, using the tip that Chase Swift had shown in some of his webinars regarding the I think it's select text, I think it says, and then you get them all nicely. They're all in quotes, and you can copy and paste them real quick, and then you can drop them in there. Of course, you review them to make sure there's none in there that don't apply. Like trying to get if it's targeting young people or countries that we're not looking to advertise in or something of that nature. But what do we got here? How should we? Wow, that's pretty intense. Okay, so someone's new and they wanted to apologize for their question. Don't apologize for your questions. No need to apologize. How should my next 2 days be broken down hour by hour for maximum results? Wow. If I'm spending an average of 8-hour day working on this. Hour by hour. Well,
Jamie, you want me to answer that one?
yeah, please. That would be good.
Okay. Yeah. So the person asked the question, and the reason I'm intervening there is just because, I mean, that's a lot of time, right? And I think it'll be a huge lesson to make sure that we get that across properly, because
I agree.
So if you have that much time, if you have 8 hours a day, okay, and sometime, and before I answer that question, I'm going to preempt that with something. But if you're going to ask that question, there is, just so everybody knows, some people will go and spend 8 hours a day working somewhere or on something. Because they do that for several days in a row, 3, 5, 10, 2 weeks, does not necessarily mean that you'll have results. Okay? So I want to scare the shit out of everybody with that. Okay? Because for 2 reasons. One, it's a business, so sometimes it takes momentum to do that. Okay? So that's cool. That's the first thing that you have to know. The second thing is you could work 8 hours on something and be the wrong things. Okay? And so what I find, because this is so new and it's not as clear as black and white most of the times, because it's not a job where somebody says go sweep the floor, punch the clock, and you get paid, they have a hard time adjusting to that, which they can. It's just something different than they've always been. Remember, we can all see your screen, Jamie. Yeah, so it just keep always that in mind, that your goal is to, whether it be 30 minutes a day or 8 hours or 10 hours a day, okay, is that you spend it, and you may not do this at the start, but you want to spend it on as much income producing activities as possible that actually work. Okay, and you want to get rid of the ones that don't work so well for you to get the most out of your time. So, and that being said, I know it might be the easy thing to answer to say, well, Paul, why don't you just, well, Jamie and Paul, why don't you guys just tell me the 2-3 things that you guys do? The problem is some of you guys, everybody has different time, they have different budgets, they have different learning abilities, they have different experiences, they have different abilities to apply it, all of those kind of things. So you got to respect and understand that's why we don't teach it that way. But that being said, you want to find something that is producing results for you that you can do lots of, that in my opinion that lasts for a long time. Okay, so that the work that you put into it doesn't reward you linearly. I don't even know if you could, Jamie, how would you say that? Linearly?
Yeah, that's a crazy
Linear income, but linearly?
yeah,
I guess that's not even a word, but
that's
linear is something you do once. You get paid for something you do, right? Like a job. You want to get rid of that thinking at 100%. You want to think, if I'm going to put time into something, I want it to reward me for a long time. Jenny's sending you a text message, I guess, or something. Jamie.
oh,
Yeah.
I gotta move this up.
Remember, everybody can see your screen, dude. Stay
Yeah.
focused there. But
I know, but I couldn't
yeah, I
see it.
know.
It was behind the question box. I couldn't see it.
Okay. But shiny objects, right? Look at the mouse movements, man. It's like crazy. Anyway, yeah. So make sure that we understand that you want to keep as focused as you possibly can on things that can reward you long term. Okay. So when you do something, you're doing it for momentum, not that it'll go away tomorrow. Okay. So for instance, if you're spending all your time doing things that will not be applicable in a day or tomorrow or, whatever. Yeah, Randall, I already told him that. I warned him before he went on the webinar. That's good. See, he was thinking the same way as me. But you want to think of things that advertise. Not only think of things. Well, we recommend things that do both of those. Now, I personally don't spend. I don't want to say none because I do it, but I only spend maybe 3% of my time. Okay, which is very little, obviously. Because if I work 6 hours a day, which is, I mean, I guess I could guess at that. I don't even know 6 hours a day. I ask somebody, I say, well, how long do you work? And I say, well, normally I don't start till 10. And then throughout the day, I pick up the kids or something, and then you take that out. But then I come back at nighttime. So I probably do work 8 hours a day. It's just not all at the same time. It's all over the place. So if I'm only working 3 to 5% on linear advertising methods, which means it could be gone tomorrow, that means that I'm only spending maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes on something like that in the whole day. Whereas I see a lot of people, they'll spend all day doing it. And generally the linear things are the free things. Okay? Not all, but mostly. Like placing classified ads, free online classified ads and stuff like that. That's linear. It doesn't last really forever. They kind of get buried and they're gone. Okay? So should you spend all day long placing those ads if you only have 8 hours a day? Probably not. You want to balance it and create your own. So it'll be unique, everything to everybody, but you're going to pick your own. Now, here's the other thing. If you're running free classified ads online for 2 weeks, you got to give it a good shake. You can't do it for 1 or 2 days and go, nothing yet. You got to do it for a decent enough time, a method, at least something like that where there's ads being placed. You got to do it for at least a couple weeks. So then if you get very little results from that, and you measure results on 2 different scales, not sales, that's not your first measure. Okay, money. I base it on how much money I made. No, you don't. Whoever's telling you to do that, they're probably an amateur on the internet. And if you're thinking that way, you're still an amateur. Okay, how you base your results is how many leads, or that's in business terms, but how many opt-ins you get into your autoresponder, into get response. How many do you get in a day? That's how you measure your success. Okay, traffic and opt-ins. How many subscribers do you have in your list? That's where the money is. Well, I thought, but we don't get paid when someone opts in. No, but if you as you learn and as you understand, that list becomes a valuable asset and should be worth at least $1 per opt-in forever. Okay, so if you have a list of 3,000 people, you should be making $3,000 a month. If you're not, then you need to be using that and working that list. Okay, so that's the first measure. So any advertising. So if you say, well, I've been advertising for 2 weeks, doing these 8 hours a day, doing these free things or forum posts or whatever you're doing, and you get nothing, no opt-ins, then probably you want to look at different advertising methods. Okay, now for some people it'll be great, but some people it won't. It's just the way it is. Okay, so that's how you measure your result. The second result is sales and making money. Okay, that's the second, because once you have the list, you always have a second and third and fifth and seventh and 10th chance at earning money from that list. Whereas if you're just looking for sales and you're not building a list, if you're not using the autoresponder, shame on you, because you're just throwing money away. Okay, so you need to build the list. Okay, that's where the money is. Even if you didn't earn it today, you still have a second chance tomorrow, and next week, and the next week, and next month, and next month. Okay? So when you're advertising, you want to use things that can be, once you spend the time to set them up and learn them, which usually takes more skill, that they'll be there generally forever. Okay? And they'll last for a really, really long time. So pay-per-click advertising, SEO marketing like videos, articles, blog posts, things, social media to some extent, okay, social backlinks and things like that for your articles. Those are the kind of things that you want to be spending on. PPC, pay-per-click advertising, okay, some pay-per-image advertising like banners and things like that, images and stuff like that, because whenever you spend the time to research and set them up and use your keywords and all that kind of stuff, that'll be there forever, potentially.
Yeah.
Okay?
I think
so and that's the kind of things that you want to spend your time on. You want to spend your time on those things. Now you might say, well, that costs me money. Does it really? Remember, is the glass half full or the glass half empty every time, right? So you can have an assumption, or you can listen to an expert or a pro like me or Jamie, right? Does it cost you a lot of money to advertise in PPC? If you ask me that question, I say absolutely not. It makes me money every time. You have to understand that you can control the advertising costs, so it can be very tiny and very little to actually produce results, or you treat it like a hobby and you go on forever spending $5, $6, $7, $8 a month. Okay, and you're safe and sound, and you never spend any money more than $7, $8, but you're also not making any money, right? So yes, you spend $8, but I would rather spend 800, right, to get enough momentum with traffic and exposure to make the 2,000 or 3,000 out of that 800. Okay, but you build up to that. You don't just start there. You build up to that. Okay, because if you're getting good quality traffic and things like that, so if I was to say to you, if someone said, well, how should I spend? If I was to do, and again, I'm not speaking and telling you to do this. I'm answering a question. If somebody would ask me, how would I personally spend 8 hours a day on advertising? If I didn't have to worry about training, if I didn't have to worry about programming, if I didn't have to worry about conceptual ideas, if I didn't have to worry about working directly with the merchants, if I didn't have to work with all of that, all of this kind of extra stuff, if I just could do what you guys, by the way, have the privilege to do that, because I do all the other stuff. You guys just worry about marketing, so that's all you should do. 8 hours a day, I would spend it on pay-per-click advertising and very targeted, keyword researched, high value SEO marketing. That's what I would spend 95% of my time on, those two things. Okay? The other 5% I would spend on probably a little bit of social media, because it takes you like 2 minutes a day. Okay? Like post something in your Facebook. I have a really good lesson in the lessons to show you what you should do with Facebook and Twitter. Very simple concepts to do that. And then you might throw in some solo ads, okay, which again takes you 15 minutes maybe once a week. So 95% of your time, 7.5 hours a day, 7 hours and 40 minutes a day, should be spent on researching keywords, building ad groups, building up your PPC network, and putting out SEO content. Because once you put out SEO content, it's there forever. I have a blog out there, guys, that I built Just and then I'll give it back to Jamie here. But I built a blog out there that I built probably about a year and a half ago. Just this one particular blog.
And
Okay,
you didn't
I
finish it?
haven't. I've made 4 posts on it, three, 4 posts on it ever. 3, 4 posts. That's it. And today it still generates me anywhere from 12 to 16 opt-ins every single day without any cost, any ongoing cost, any cost for me, with any me touching it or not, or anything. So now again, what is that? Well, how long did it take? Well, it didn't start off that way. It took months before it started getting 1 or 2 opt-ins. But the time I spent on it was well worth it because now I'm getting 12 to 16 bucks a day generated with it because it's going into my subscriber list, right? 12 to 16 bucks a day every day, whether I lift a finger or not. So that's where I would spend all of my time. That's me personally. Some people like to go and just run free ads in Facebook groups all day. I don't know. They're gone tomorrow. Well, they're usually gone in about 20 minutes. But I don't spend my time doing that because then I'm like a job. I have to go back and do it again and do it again and do it again and do it again. Meanwhile, I'd rather spend all my time doing stuff that once I put it out there, it stays out there. Then I do another one, put another one out there. So now I'm gaining momentum over somebody that's just doing linear advertising, right? It's the same thing with the job concept, right? I'd rather employ other people or partner with other people that I gain leverage off of so that I can build that up. It's possible to become wealthy and rich that way. A person working for somebody, linear, working for somebody else, can never be rich because they're only limited based on the time that they spend. Same thing with advertising, right? If you're only based on, well, I can only run 200 ads a day, well, then you're screwed because you can only get up to 200 ads a day. If you have the mentality, though, that I can have an abundance of ads and it's never ending because I'm using PPC or SEO marketing or things like that, then what happens is then it's unlimited. It'll just keep going on forever. Back to you.
I was just going to say I wanted to add to that because it was something that I found very useful. Was getting a. It's almost that you almost want to get yourself a calendar or a book that you can use, and you very much set your timeline. So you say you have 8 hours now. As Paul alluded to, you may not have 8 hours contiguously. It may be 8 hours, one here, three there, two there, whatever. But block the time for what you're going to do. If you're going to be doing keyword research, you do it from 8 to 9. If you're going to be writing articles, you do that from 9 to 11. And then you don't do anything else. You don't go check your Facebook. You don't go check your email. You don't go check this. You don't check that. You don't, you know, call your friend just to see if they're going to be ready for coffee. You don't do all this. This is what you're working because this is your job. This is your own business. So you now need to be dedicated. And this is what I talked about earlier about staying focused and giving yourself, some structure. Because previously, I've had jobs where someone else gave me structure, so I just followed the structure, and I was really good at it. Now I'm the guy calling the shots, so that was kind of a problem at first because I never had to call my own shots. So here we go. But one of the tools that I found very useful was to structure the time in a day. If from this time to this time I'm doing this, from this time to this time I'm doing this, from this time to this time I'm doing this. The beauty of having control of my own schedule and calling the shots is that if my kids need me to go pick them up at school, or at the end of last year's season, my son needed me to pick up something he had built at school. So, what time do you need me there? Okay, I'll be at school at this time. I go there, I pick up the stuff, we bring it all home, we unload everything, I come back and I get back to work. But I could put that into my schedule that this time I'm picking up my son and picking up whatever he needs at school, or taking him to a dentist appointment or whatever. I have that ability. So if you want to get to that point, then you need to structure your time and structure your dedication to what your new craft is going to be. So I think that's important. And there's some other questions that came in, but Rose had thrown up there that you're willing to invest in realistic. Is it realistic to become profitable in the first month? Paul touched on that already. What is a realistic budget? That is really your call. We can't tell you how much you want to budget for your business. That's not something that we can dictate to you. You have to make that decision. But I think that one of the things that I usually say and tell people is simply, if you are you need to look at your budget as the amount of money monthly that you're willing to never see again, so to speak. Because if you're putting up $200 a month for your advertising budget, and that's going to be the difference between you paying the bills or going grocery shopping or any of those things, then that's not a really good idea. Make it to 100, keep the other 100, because whatever budget it is, you can work with it. You can break it up into week by week. If you have $100 a month, do $25 a week. Get into your PPC and maximize your daily budget to like I don't know, $4 or $5, and then that'll be $35 a week. At $5 or $35 a week, and then the other that's more than 100. So, but let's say $3 a week, right? So $3 a week would get you at 21. Then you can't overspend. Whatever, you set your budget however you want. You decide how much you have, but it's got to be money that you're willing to continually invest. The idea is to take that money, build it up over time, so that when you're investing $200 a month, you get back the 200, so you can reinvest it, or you get more and you reinvest it, until you get to the point where Paul had alluded to spending $800 a month, or $1,000, or $1,500, or $2,000 a month. But it's all money that you generated from your initial investment, so it's not $2,000 coming out of your pocket. It's $2,000 coming from your business, going back into your business in order to create more momentum. There was a question of the PIP 90-day challenge and partner and profit, also two different goals with similar trainings. Yeah, basically, my partner and profit classic, which was the original design, is probably one of the most useful systems out there on the internet, period. Not probably, I know it is, because the information that's in there is second to none, and people pay thousands of dollars for that kind of information. And there's different levels of membership that you can get involved there. There you can advertise and promote any business you choose in there. The 90-day challenge is a very specific division of my partner and profit. So, but they do have similar trainings, because ultimately the knowledge base is across platform, right? It's all the same: advertising, marketing, online. Some work better in depending. That's why there's so many options. Is that some work best for other people. Some people love PPC. Some people hate it. Do whatever it is. Figure out what it is in those lessons that you absolutely can master, and master that skill. Where's the next one here? Oh, this was a good question. I thought anyway. Are you noticing any activity on your Facebook marketing? I think that's a really good question, because because I do some Facebook marketing, and I also know that I see a lot of people marketing, because I get the pop-ups all the time while I'm working, and I used to get them to my email all the time, so I figured out I turned that off. But I think I do get some. I do notice activity. The hardest part is tracking it, because there's really no tracking codes. That's the really difficult part. But I do find that when I do, it's about timing with Facebook. You can't just randomly throw them up in the middle of the day and nobody's looking at them, because nobody's spending hours of contiguous time on Facebook during the day. They're poking in there while they're at work, and they're just quickly looking to see what their friends are up to, because their life can't go on without that. But in the evenings or on the weekends, generally not during the day, again on the weekends, but first thing in the morning or later at night, when people are just sitting there for a number of, I want to say minutes, but it's probably hours, just rolling through Facebook or playing games or doing this or that. So that's when I find the most activity. Like yesterday, I did a bunch, because I was up doing a bunch of other things, and then I thought, well, before I go to bed, I'll just quickly throw a bunch of posts through. And I did have 3 opt-ins this morning. And of course, I don't know specifically if they came from there, but that's, it was direct timing. And anytime I've done a blitz at night like that, I've generally woke up to some opt-ins. So, but I also belong to an enormous number of groups. If you quickly see here, there's just this is the groups I belong to, but it's a lot of business type groups. You just got to keep I keep joining new groups. You just do a search for different types of groups. I know people have asked that question before. You just kind of looking for groups that have to do with people that are in business and they're online, preferably online business people because they're, online, and that's what we do. So you get more traction from those places. But you have to remember, you have to get creative. I don't know, maybe this one might still be. I'm still on this one here. So this is where I did a review of. I didn't send them directly there. I sent them to my blog where I reviewed the 90-day income challenge. I led it with an honest review of Easy Start Business. I actually worded that wrong, so there you go. It still works because apparently I got some login. Who knows? Um, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just got to throw something on in there. So, but that's one of the ways that I do that. So, go back to here. Let's see here. On the keywords, is phrase better than exact keyword? What's the main difference? I'm not sure if I understand.
The organizer has ended the session, and this call will be disconnected.